In 2017, Zomato put up billboards across Delhi, Bangalore and Mumbai that read MCBC. No food photos, no discount offers, just these two abbreviations on their signature red canvas. Now if you look at this closely, it was actually short for mac and cheese and butter chicken. Now some people of course loved it. It was clever, refreshing and something very different from all the kinds of billboards that you see on the road today. But for some others, this was straight up offensive. Now of course, this was not exactly a family-friendly advertisement. Remember, I'm talking about billboards that everyone on the road can see, so the backlash was pretty significant. Now you probably might be wondering, why would any company in their right mind, especially a one that is backed by some serious VC money, take such a big risk? Now what if I tell you this was not really a mistake? Zomato knew exactly what they were doing. This campaign went absolutely viral on social media. The campaign got a lot more eyeballs than what Zomato ever paid for. And this was not even a one-off incident. Fast forward to 2024 and now Zomato is arguably one of the most known and loved brands in India. Zomato's bold and unfiltered style did not just work out for them, it also paved the way for other brands. Today, everybody is trying to copy Zomato's formula because they are realizing that traditional marketing does not work anymore. So in this video today, I'll break down how Zomato pulled this off and everything people like you and me can learn about brand building from them. Now before we talk about Zomato's marketing specifically, it is important for us to understand the current landscape. Now marketing and branding is one thing that has really evolved over the last few years. Things that used to work back in the day today are not as effective as they once used to be. And there are many reasons for this shift, but the main one is content or social media. Now a few years back, if you wanted to advertise, your only options were TV and newspapers. This means you had to speak to everyone, even if your product was meant for only a specific category of people. So this forced every brand to use the same generic mass market language from an ROI or return on investment perspective. And it of course made complete sense. But social media has changed this game completely. Traditional media has almost gone obsolete now and everyone is on social media today. Brands can target any subgroup precisely, which means they can talk to them in their own language and connect with them a lot better. Now Zomato CEO Dipinder Goyal's goal has been fairly simple.
मैंने बुक पढ़ी कोई, उसमें लिखा जी कस्टमर के साथ बनाओ रिलेशनशिप, मैंने जाके इनको बोल दिया, सीरियसली ले रहा है.
While their path was not initially very clear, their strategy gradually started to take shape. Their insight was fairly straightforward. People trust people more, not emotionless corporate logos with dry and formal communication. So in order to build real relationships with customers, they knew their brand needed to be more human-like. Zomato also had a very clear understanding of their target consumer, which is the tech-savvy young generation, college and office-going people in Tier 1 cities. And with that information, what Zomato ended up doing looks very obvious when you look at it in hindsight, but it was really a genius move. Zomato started communicating with people using quirky, humorous and non-serious styles. It was almost like friends were talking on WhatsApp. It was very unfiltered and casual. And later, this became Zomato's brand identity. It nudged the entire ecosystem into being more unfiltered and casual with their communications. Today, like I said, everybody is trying to copy them and they are trying to be more human-like. Now Zomato's marketing in the way we know it today all started with their OOH or out of home campaign. Now all of these initial campaigns were led by Akshar Pathak, who is their ex-art director. Now he's a very funny guy who you might have seen on Instagram, Twitter and other places. Now the reason why they worked is because these creatives tap into pop culture, local language and relatable situations in order to connect with the audience. In a way, these were exactly like memes. And if I were to ask you what do people do with memes, the answer is obviously they smile and share it with their friends. And that is exactly what started to happen with Zomato as well. People saw Zomato advertisements, they loved it and it went viral on social media almost every single time. Now, as you would probably imagine, being unfiltered means taking a lot of risks. Now, the thing with Zomato is that they never shied away from taking these risks. The MCBC campaign that I initially talked about is a great example of this. This campaign faced huge backlash, but Zomato's response was even more interesting here. Instead of running away from the problem, Zomato actually leaned into the problem and created a special outrage coupon code for discounts. Zomato also started to run double meaning ads which they ran on adult websites. And all of these early experiments set the tone for Zomato for many years to come. They helped them stand out from the entire crowd. And one thing that Zomato has managed to pull off over here, which not many people have been able to, is that they have never deviated from their core brand values. And how they managed to curate this very culture in their team is perhaps the most interesting part of all. Dipinder Goyal took an approach which almost no other Indian leader would ever take. He picked young folks with no formal marketing education. And when Dipinder Goyal said that we need to build relationships with our customers, these young marketers interpreted it in their own unique ways. And this is very clear when you see these casual, cheeky, and usually even flirtatious notifications. Another recent example that shows how particular Zomato is about their culture is when Dipinder Goyal posted a very unconventional job opening for a chief of staff position. He asked for 20 lakh rupees instead of paying any salary, and in the requirements he clearly mentioned that he wanted somebody with not a lot of experience and should have common sense and empathy. Now this is something you do not see in any other job posting normally. This obviously resulted in massive reach. Everyone was talking about it recently. Zomato received over 10,000 applications within just a couple of days. Now many people also criticized it as exploitative and elitist, but Zomato later clarified that it was actually a filter to find candidates who would appreciate the opportunity without being worried by constraints. And it's not just about these job openings, you will see this almost in everything that Zomato does. And this takes me to the next lesson from Zomato's playbook, which is user-generated content or UGC. Whenever they put up a billboard, they're not just thinking about the people who drive past it. They are actually playing a much bigger game here. Remember that Koti Koti Dhanyavad newspaper advertisement that looked like a political banner? Or that time in Indore when they had a model who dressed up as a delivery partner and went around the city in a super bike. Now the common thing between both of these campaigns was that they got more secondary eyeballs on social media. So on one hand, while most brands are almost obsessing over direct conversions and they are optimizing for ROI on their paid ads, Zomato seems to be playing a different game altogether. They are optimizing for shareability and user-generated content. And the reason why this works is because it creates an organic wave of support that no amount of paid advertising can ever match. In fact, studies have shown that 90% of consumers are influenced by user-generated content while they are making their purchase decisions. And if you talk about Zomato, they take it even further over here. They pick the best user-generated content and get influencers to share it or react to it on their profiles. It's almost like a snowball effect. Users create content, influencers amplify it, and all of a sudden you got millions and millions of people who are engaged in a conversation about your brand only and only because you created something that is worth talking about in the first place. Now, even if you do not use Zomato as such, you probably have heard about their notifications. If you look at Swiggy and Zomato side by side, you see both of these brands have very different styles. Swiggy usually emphasizes on deals and offers and they focus more on conversions. But on the other hand, Zomato actually leans into casual messages. And there's actually a great marketing lesson for us here. Think about the typical user journey. See, a brand targets you with ads, then they make you download an app, then they use notifications to nudge you towards placing an order. Now, notifications are great to grab attention, but the thing is, if they get too pushy, customers will either ignore them or they will take that extra step to block them completely. Now, because there are so many brands who are trying so hard to sell to us today, there are so many repetitive and monotonous notifications that you and I get every single day. As a result of this, people like you and me have simply become immune and less tolerant towards advertisement, and that is exactly what Zomato understood very well. They realized it should not feel like they are trying to sell something. And this might seem counterintuitive because many marketing people think that everything a brand does needs to have a good ROI. But the truth actually is, every advertisement or every marketing activity in isolation does not need to. Some things are done at a cost for a reason because they help with long-term brand building. Also, one of the most interesting things about Zomato's marketing is that whatever they do is in sync with each other and nothing that they do is out of their brand guidelines. And of course, the sharper and more consistent the personality of a brand is across all of their touch points, the more distinctive and memorable they eventually become. Ideally, when consumers see a piece of content that is created by these brands, they should immediately think, yes, this looks like something brand X would say. Now, it's all about recognizability and memorability here.
Whenever you send a push notification, whenever you create a billboard or something, it should make the audience smile, like a little bit of a smile. Consistently doing that every single day, I think compounds to the brand that we have.
And this brings me to the last part of the video, which is the founder's brand. One of the smartest decisions by Zomato was to leverage their founder's personal brand. See, for obvious reasons, a person has lesser restrictions in terms of content creation than a company does. This opens up multiple storytelling opportunities and also builds great amount of credibility for the brand. And Dipinder Goyal usually uses his social media account to communicate directly with consumers, and he bypasses traditional media channels by doing so. He keeps tweeting or posting about interesting data points from Zomato. For example, on New Year's Eve, when order volumes were organically very high, he started posting minute by minute updates. For example, 169 pizzas were ordered in the last 1 minute. Or he spoke about random biryani orders, etc. Now, if you think about it, whenever there is a face associated with a brand like Zomato, it further humanizes it for people like you and me. And you also see this trend globally. Today, creators are turning into entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs are becoming creators. But all said and done, the best thing about Dipinder Goyal is how he manages to stay in the news all the time. When Dipinder turned into a delivery boy for one day to find out the pain points of delivery partners, it was covered by pretty much all news outlets and it obviously went viral. And this is far more valuable than a paid ad because the impression it leaves on viewers is a lot richer and more authentic. And very recently, when Swiggy sponsored Shark Tank and Dipinder Goyal was removed from the Shark panel, he ended up appearing on the Kapil Sharma show and possibly got even more brand visibility. So if you come to think about it, a brand is often misunderstood. Some people think it is just about the logo, the name, the product design, the colors, or that one particular ad. But it is actually more like an emotion, trust, and reputation, which is the cumulative impression of everything that a company does. It is the sum of all parts. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this case study, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel because I promise you there are more brand building case studies coming up soon.